Thanks everyone for being here. So yeah, having a few technical issues. The restream thing. If you're watching on D Live or Periscope, I can't chat with you tonight. But you can check out all my platforms. You can go over to YouTube and watch me. So links are all in the description. Thank you for being here, everyone. Should be a good show tonight. Tons of things going on in the news. Just real quick to start with, I'm hosting the Patriot Super Panel next week, so I made some new mods. If modding something you might be interested in, let me know. I asked my mods, I know different rules for different channels. On my channel, I try to encourage people to come on, disagree with me, make fun of me, all of that good stuff. So, yeah, don't censor people just if they're like, Rob's stupid, Bernie's the man, Trump sucks. Don't do any of that. Now, if people are spamming vulgarities or porn sites or something like that, take the URL for that porn site down, but then ban them. No, I'm just kidding. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. I don't know where to start tonight. There's a ton of news. We got the New Hampshire results coming in. We got Jussie Smollett, as Dave Chappelle calls him, being re-indicted again, kind of going off a theme of yesterday of the Soros type people trying to buy off prosecutors and police and things like that. I think that's a perfect example of it. And then we have all of these people at the DOJ resigning. So I'll just randomly pick one to start with. Let me start by saying I have 19 people watching, 19 thumbs up, and 1 thumbs down before I say a word. Womp womp. I was going really good there for a while. I didn't have a thumbs down on any of my videos. So to see one tonight, if you're still there, person watching that gave me a thumbs down, maybe I'll change your mind by the end of the show. We like everyone's opinions here, and you probably have good reasons to thumbs up. Maybe you're intimidated by how awesome I am, my great looks. Maybe you're a Russian. Who knows? But we'll get you. I'll get you to like me. I'm that type of person. I have that type of personality. I could have 10,000 people like me, but 1 dislike me. And I'm like, what's up with that person? What's going on? So let's start with, what's the crowd talking about here? Let's talk about Jussie Smollett. Why not? Jussie Smollett. So let me just give a rehash of what we know so far that's going on with this story. He was the guy, black gentleman, who's gay. He was on the show Empire. He claimed he left Chicago in the middle of the night to get a Subway sandwich when it was freezing, and mysterious Trump supporters came out of nowhere, poured bleach on him, got a noose, said this is Trump's country, called him a bunch of homophobic and racial slurs, left the noose on his neck and left. Well, it turns out that was all a lie. He made all that up. And friendly prosecutor, I can't remember her name, but a friendly prosecutor that was connected to an associate of Michelle Obama's actually dropped the case. She was the district attorney in charge of the case. And she gave some mealy-mouthed explanation of, he paid his due or whatever. So it ended up being totally dropped. He didn't have to admit his guilt. He's still been running around saying that he's some kind of victim. Well, now there's been a special investigation going on for 6 months, and they turned out that, yes, they do have the evidence that they're going to be able to prosecute. Now, I don't have anything to add on this story about the particulars of what the actual charges of him are going to be. It seems to be the charges that we knew in the first place, that he manufactured this hate crime in order to drum up popular support for himself to possibly get a raise on his show, raise his publicity, and also simultaneously to demean white people and demean Trump voters. He's trying to start a race conflict. He's trying to start a political conflict. So the first thing that's worth talking about is just kind of a rehash of that story. I didn't talk much about it, and I'm very proud to say that was one story that I waited for. I didn't jump on the bandwagon, and I'm glad. Turn up the volume, says Benny. Okay. Will you do that? Here, hopefully that's better. Sorry about that, Benny. Right. Trump supporters. First off, if you were... I really have nothing to add. Watch the Dave Chappelle stand-up. He kind of nails all of this. How the heck would a Trump supporter know who Jussie Smollett was? Like, how many Trump supporters you know are watching the show Empire? Probably not many. And if you are a Trump supporter that maybe watches Empire, you're probably not someone who has a problem with, gay people or black people. Right? Probably wouldn't be watching a show about the rap industry and black people if you had some racial animus. Unless you just really like aggravating yourself before you go to bed at night or something. But the story made no sense. They're waiting in the freezing cold in downtown Chicago where, as Trump supporters are known to just be. And then it turned out that, there was Not only was it black people that did this, it was Nigerians that had an accent. So for Smollett to claim, oh, I didn't know. I thought they legitimately could have been Trump supporters. Come on. It was a joke. Everybody knew it was a joke. Now, the important part is there's all sorts of conspiracy angles to this, that Booker and Kamala Harris were passing hate crime legislation at the same time that this went. That could be true. I mean, that is true. They were doing that. And I would not be surprised at all if they had context with Jussie Smollett. Now, I don't know that if Smollett just saw this as a crime of opportunity personally, to kill two birds with one stone, to benefit himself and to smear white people and Trump supporters, or if he was trying to do something in conjunction with Harris or Booker. If it was the latter, I doubt we'll ever know if that was the case. But I wouldn't put it past them. However, for right now, I'm not going to put that on Harris or Booker like I somehow have definitive proof. Now, their claims originally, remember, Kamala Harris came out at least, and Booker, both of them came out and originally defended Smollett, and they couldn't believe, and they tried to pin it on Trump and Trump voters and how racial hatred ran rampant because of Trump. And then they were pretty silent, right, once we found out that it was all a hoax. So that's where we were. And it was an outrage, that it was a miscarriage of justice. So I want yourself to put yourself in the shoes of the police officers for a minute, right? So say you're a Chicago police officer. Now the city is notorious for gang violence, people being shot, mostly black people, by the way. You're a police officer and you're trying to solve these crimes. You're trying to protect your community, but you have to spend all these resources on this hate crime that gets national news. Then it turns out you've just been jerked around. Now the police, when they finally make the charge and prosecute Smollett, or they make the charges against Smollett, their boss, the person that, well, I don't know if boss is the correct term, but the person that has priority over them at the district attorney, she decides, we're going to just throw away everything the police said, not contact the police, and basically let this guy walk free. Now that would infuriate the cops in Chicago, as it should. We see a similar situation in New York, right? This is what we talked about yesterday. We have the police in New York that are now saying they're openly declaring war on de Blasio because their leadership is selling them short. I've seen the same thing said about police in places in California. What happens is most police officers are like man, sure, there could be bad ones, just like there could be bad people at any job, right? But most police officers, I truly believe, actually want to help the community and do their job. So when you're told over and over, no, you can't go after these class of criminals. These class of criminals are protected by the higher up. So in LA, you have to leave homeless and drug addicts do whatever they want in the streets. In New York, you have to leave people attack cops, smear cops, throw water on cops, etc. You have to let that go. And when you put people, both in LA and New York, it's the same thing. When they arrest people and finally get them charged, they're left out almost the same day because the leadership in those cities are caring more about the criminals than they care about the victims. So they do everything they can to make the punishment as light as possible on the criminals, throw them back out in the street. Someone said in the chat last night, it was appropriate that we actually had or I guess it was on the super panel. Mike Nificent, a new friend of mine, said this. We had an MS-13 member in New York. He gets jailed. He was told in jail, the person that was testifying against him, he was let out of jail because the new program that says basically you leave people out on bail really simply now in New York. And then he killed the witness. That's the type of stuff. Now imagine you're a cop. You're risking your life going into these dangerous inner city neighborhoods, and it's all for naught. Everyone you arrest just gets left out the next day. In this case in Chicago, you get smeared by Smollett. Even after he fakes this racial hoax, you take it seriously. You do your best to investigate it. Then the prosecutor, the people above you that control the decisions, they don't even consult you or your chief. They let Smollett go. And then Smollett's on the cameras that day saying, oh, the cops framed me. This was all big fix. Now you get smeared. So imagine the anger these cops have. So it's no wonder that they did an investigation. Now, what we know is that an aide to Michelle Obama was in direct text communication with that district attorney that left Smollett off. We know that Jussie Smollett's sisters both worked in the Obama White House. So it seems like there's a definitive link between this guy committed a heinous crime. He was connected to the Obamas. The Obamas' assistant reached out to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor let him go. So there's two angles that we need to look at here. The first is, what does the Smollett hate crime hoax mean about our country in the first place? Why is it that we constantly have to manufacture hate crime hoaxes? We constantly have to manufacture stories that, oh, there are white racists running rampant. Oh, the patriarchy's raping people at record clips, etc. Remember the Duke rape hoax? Remember the UVA rape hoax in Rolling Stone? Remember Mattress Girl? Why can't they find one of the rapes that they publicize as a huge deal that's true? Go back to that UVA case. For those of you who don't remember, a writer at the Rolling Stone decided she wanted to write a case about rapes that occur on college campuses. So she went rape shopping. This is what they admit. This is what the Rolling Stone admitted. There are legitimate women that are raped. There are legitimate men that are raped. But those stories weren't sensational enough. So instead of getting a real story, they went out looking for the most sensational story that would drive a wedge in people, that would cause controversy, that would cause clicks and subscriptions to the Rolling Stone. And so she found this story. She reports this story. They all but smeared an innocent man. It was all a blatant lie. Any cursory amount of investigating showed that the whole story was garbage. They just said, oops, my bad, after they got the subscription and clicks, and everything went away. Over and over we see that. I talked yesterday on the super panel. Why is it there are instances where we have cops that have bad shootings? In fact, there are instances where there are cops that have bad shootings against unarmed black men. But those stories where it's legitimate, like, you remember there was that video where you saw this black man running from a cop and the cop shot him in the back 4 times, then planted the gun. That cop got charged. He got sentenced to a huge sentence. That didn't really make national stories. It wasn't something people talked about. Why? Because we all agree. It's like, yes, that cop was heinous. That regardless if the motivation was racist or not, he should spend the rest of his life in prison. It was a bad shoot, and then he tried to cover it up. But they don't push that story because they need the story that says white people bad, racism bad, authority hates black people. That's the story they need. So they push Michael Brown. They push Trayvon Martin. Because then the reaction from normal people of all colors that look at the facts of the case is, okay, neither of these situations were heinous. Neither of them were examples of racism. In the Trayvon Martin story, they tried to make it seem like George Zimmerman was a white guy because it didn't fit their narrative to say Hispanic man shoots black kid. And of course, you know all the garbage that came with that, putting the picture of Trayvon up when he was like 10 years old instead of the one where he looked like he was holding guns and cash and things like that. Now, is George Zimmerman a good guy? No. But he had the right to defend himself there. Absolutely. Same with Michael Brown. That was a good shooting. That officer, Darren Wilson, has to live in fear of his life the rest of his life. When the forensic evidence, witnesses, his story, the background of Michael Brown, the fact that he just strong-arm robbed someone, all backed up his story, Darren Wilson's story. Yet he was smeared by the media. To this day, smears the lie. Hands up, don't shoot. You can still find clips of media people saying that. They don't care that they ruined some innocent guy's life who was just doing his best to protect society. They don't care at all. He should be lynched on their altar of social justice. That's what they think. Just like Kavanaugh. So they push these hoaxes because they know that then they can say, see, no one cares about this hoax. No one cares about this unarmed black person that was shot because they know the real cases where it's cut and dry. Everyone agrees, like, yes, that's heinous. They need to shop. If the racism was as bad as they were saying, they wouldn't need to go out of their way to make up stories, would they? So enter Jussie Smollett. Now here's a person that's a millionaire that makes more money probably in 1 year than I'll make in a decade. Average people that are working 9 to 5s, doing hard work at some point, that actually do things that make the country go round. Jussie Smollett's one of the most privileged people in the history of the world. He's working on a successful television program, presumably doing what he loves, making millions of dollars. But that wasn't good enough for him. He needed more victimhood because that is the currency of the cultural Marxists and the social justice warriors. Victimhood outweighs everything. Being rich doesn't matter. Money, who cares? It's that victimhood. And what better to be a victim than homophobic slurs against you, racial slurs against you, you're someone in the public eye already, and it was done by white Trump supporters. Now imagine, have you ever read the book To Kill a Mockingbird, right? The idea behind that book was kind of that, some white people falsely accused a black man of a crime. Imagine that type of situation in today's world. What would the media say about, let's say a white woman would say, I was walking down the street and a bunch of black men attempted to rape me and they were screaming, this is what you get for being a Trump supporter. And then if that was all a hoax, what would they say about that woman? What would they say about Trump supporters in general? Oh, it's going back to stereotypes of black people being monsters and rapists, and this is one of the most racist things I've ever seen. Leave it to a Trump supporter. This is because of Trump's rhetoric. That's what they would say. Now, I'm not asking for the media to say that about Jussie Smollett, to blame all Obama or Democrats. I'm not asking that. But at least cover the story fairly. He tried to incite racial conflict. He tried to incite hatred towards Trump supporters. His actions, had he not been found out, could have legitimately led to people that thought they were sticking up for him attacking Trump supporters or attacking white people, particularly in Chicago, because they would have thought, oh, this must be part of that group that tried to lynch Jussie Smollett. We as a society should not tolerate, I don't care if it comes on the right, on the left, these sorts of hoaxes. It's incredibly dangerous. To me, this is right up there with the process of swatting, which if you don't know what swatting is, it's when someone's doing a live video. Most of the time it's playing video games on Twitch. And then one of the followers will call and say, hey, the person at this address is holding a hostage. Then the SWAT team breaks into their house. There's actually been one case where someone was killed because of this. It's a hoax to incite. That's tried, I guess, for laughs or whatever, but it's a serious thing. You're accusing someone of such heinous crimes that it enfouls the passions of people and forces them to try to do something. Not to mention the actual taking resources away from the police that could have been investigating things like inner city crime that affects black people. But these racial flames are stoked constantly by the establishment in the Democratic Party, by those in media, etc. Now, I have friends that are Democrats, as I tell you all the time. In this show, I try to reach across the board. I'm not lying about who I am. I'm Republican. I'm conservative. But I love people that disagree with me, and I know that I have personal good friends that are Democrats. Even they thought that this story was heinous. They know. It's ridiculous. Now, there's a second level to this story, and the reason that I wanted to talk about this tonight is it fits in with what we were talking about last night, with the idea of George Soros. And I'm not normally someone that goes deep dives into a lot of conspiracies, as you all know that watch my show. But George Soros, for example, we know for a fact that the Open Society or whatever, he's financing people that run for office as district attorneys, prosecutors, judges, things like that, in city after city in the United States. And the agenda is to have basically policies that are easy as possible on criminals. And that's me putting it in the best possible terms. The worst possible terms would be he's intentionally encouraging crime because he knows it will destabilize the United States. And that's what the globalists want. They want a society where the middle class in the United States is wiped out. We all become dependent on the government. We're just like in LA or San Francisco. That's what they want. This is a great way to do it. Now, people say, oh, that sounds like a conspiracy. That's nonsense. But that is happening. And even if you take the Soros part of it out, you do have an agenda going on with these people that want to be light on crime all over the country in these big cities, with people in positions of power advocating these sorts of policies. And it's almost never voted on. That's the troubling thing. Just like Obama, right? Obama just said, you know what? I'm not going to enforce certain immigration policies. I'm not going to enforce it. This wasn't a vote. He's merely tasked with enforcing the laws that Congress passes. But he decided, I'm not going to enforce them. That's what we see prosecutors in city after city doing. They don't have the political will or the political authority to be able to change the laws in most cases. Sometimes they do. But often they just say, no, I'm going to ignore the law anyways. I'll just let them run free. I don't care. that puts them at odds with the very people, the police, that are on the street that are fighting this crime. So in this situation with Jussie Smollett, we have one of the clearest examples of corruption in a DA's office that I've ever seen. I seriously challenge anyone, even if you think that Trump's a racist and this country's full of racism, please explain to me why Jussie Smollett's charges should have been dropped. Can anyone? Has anyone heard any reasonable argument whatsoever? Yes, there are connections to Michelle Obama. Yes, there are possible connections to Booker and Kamala Harris. But even aside from that, let's not even go there. Explain to me how a district attorney who's been all about things like Black Lives Matter and been all about systemic racism in the United States, all of a sudden, when a racial hoax to stoke those flames comes up, a clear-cut crime, all of a sudden she just happens to not care and let that person off the hook. Now, this is going to be a theme with today's show because we're going to go on to people at the DOJ resigning, those that charged Roger Stone. You see, the deep state's not, in my opinion, it's not some room with people in shadowy robes drinking blood out of skulls. That's not what it is. I don't even think it's as simple as Barack Obama sits with all the heads of the IRS and the EPA and the FBI and the CIA and says, we're going to screw over conservatives. I think it's something that's unsaid. There's this self-righteous smugness about these people. They think that they're completely right. And so they don't even have to publicly say it. They just know it's okay for us to cheat. It's okay for us to break the rules. It's by any means necessary we'll take down our opponents. I don't need my boy Obama to tell me that when I'm at the IRS. I just know he's cool with me targeting conservatives, or at the EPA, or at the FBI, or at the CIA. But the same is true when you get to the state and city level. If you control these bureaucrats, these career elected officials, and the people that are unelected that are behind them, then the will of the people doesn't matter. LA could have people, they could have 95% approval for, please start arresting homeless people in LA when they're committing these heinous crimes, defecating on the street, shooting up in the street, mobbing people in the street, rushing into stores and stealing stuff. There could be 95% approval. Please do something about it. But if the officials say, no, we're not going to do it, then nothing gets done. Why are they able to do it? Because they control the narrative. They control the media. They control academia. They control the entertainment industry. They control Silicon Valley. And so the average person, it's the same with illegal immigration, right? I'm convinced the average person, more people than not, are tired of illegal immigration. More people than not in LA are probably tired of what they see there. But they never hear someone with their voice. That's why channels like this are so important, in my opinion. Oh, the Bohemian Grove. Yeah, I know all about it, John. The corruption is in your face. Now, before you say, oh, so Rob's just one of these get the criminals. In Pennsylvania here, I was one of the only people, a good friend of mine brought my attention to this, that there was a law passed that was designed, it was been passed in other states, and it's designed as a victimhood rights bill. And there was part of that law that I hated because it said something to the effect of, if you're accused of a crime, you don't get the right to confront your accuser. So they don't ever have to show up in person at your trial. They don't have to personally go to the police, etc. They just make the accusation. You don't even get the rights to know who made that accusation. That's troubling to me. So by no means am I someone that's just like, oh, Rob just says, dirty criminals, they're always guilty. No, that's not what I'm saying. But when we actually go through the process and charge people for violent crimes, and then just let them back out in the street, it's absurd. And it's designed to destabilize this country. It's designed to screw over hardworking, law-abiding people. Are you starting to see a theme from like what we were talking about yesterday? The gun laws. We were talking about gun laws yesterday. I cited you the study from the GAO, numbers in 2017, which was the most recent I could find, that showed that around 130,000 felons illegally tried to buy guns. So these are people that know they're not allowed to purchase guns because of their criminal history. 130,000 times they tried to do it. The feds charged 4 of them. Not 400, not 4,000, 4. And then they propose new laws. Because the laws are about infringing on you, the law-abiding citizen. They don't care about enforcing the laws against the violent criminals that are actually breaking the law. This happens in Democrat-controlled cities over and over and over again. Now, I think I'm going to do a video on this, possibly tomorrow if I have time. Check out Tucker Carlson's show from last night. I didn't check it out tonight, but from last night. One of my favorite people in the world did like a 10-minute spot in there. His name's Adam Carolla. Used to be on The Man Show with Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel went, whoop, and Adam Carolla went, whoop. He's awesome. Adam Carolla is awesome. He's been a lifelong resident of LA. And he talks about why the city's going to hell. What's going on. And he puts it way better than I can. Plus, he's a comedian. He's hilarious. But he talks about this. He says the homeless and stuff there, they're just an empty bag. And everyone else has money. So he's like, you could literally, there's a street where you have all these illegal aliens that are operating businesses, kiosks and stuff along the side of the road illegally. Now, if you, as a law-abiding citizen, wants to open a stand on the side of the road, you have to pay insane amount of taxes, particularly in places like San Francisco and LA. The fees that you have to jump through are insane. But the police don't do anything about these illegal immigrants. Then on the other side of the road, you'll see cops sitting with speeding guns catching soccer moms. This is Adam Carolla saying all this. Why? Because you can't get blood out of a turnip. They can't get money off the illegals, so screw it, let them break the law. We'll go after the people that have money. That's what the system, that's the outrage that infuriates you. It's not just that they let the crime go and we see the hellhole that commences. Needles on the street, feces on the street, homeless encampments right on beautiful city areas, destroying the environment like the landscape around the place. We see it all. You've all seen that. But it's not just that. It's the outrage of, at that exact same time, that they choose not to enforce the law against the lawbreakers. They'll bring the hammer down on you, the regular law-abiding citizen, harder than at any time in history. That's what makes it the outrage. And you can see that this is designed to screw over the law-abiding people, the middle class. And Adam Carolla goes on about that as well. He says, do you think that Barbara Streisand, do you think that George Clooney, they get upset when they get that insane speeding ticket? Or if they want to set up a shop, they have to pay $10,000 for a permit? Do you think they care? Of course not. They have so much money, it's irrelevant to them. Who is it? It's the people in the middle. That's who gets screwed. And that's intentional. Because as I tell you on this show over and over again, the globalist agenda is to erase the middle class. That's what they want. They want feudalism. They want a society where they have all the money and power and wealth. They get to make all the decisions. And everyone else is around their castle like serfs, begging them for food and worshiping them, saying, please give us shelter. Please give us food. That's what these people want. Yeah, they'll give you food stamps. They'll give you housing vouchers. You can live in a hellhole where crime's through the roof. They don't care. They'll give you all that. But don't you dare criticize them. You better praise them for the brilliant people they are. You want an example of it? Just watch the Oscars. Watch any Hollywood celebrity. They're in the clique. They know what's going on. That same mentality that you see in Hollywood, that smugness, the stupidity where most of them don't know what they're talking about, but they're completely smug and arrogant and think they're better than you. They'll fly on their private jet while they yell at you about the type of light bulb you're using. They make millions and billions while they decry capitalism. That's what all of these movers and shakers want for you. They can be total hypocrite. One set of rules for them. They are the beautiful people, and you suck. That's what they think. And so they want to take your wealth. They want to take your independence. They want to take your personal responsibility. They want to take your liberty. Then they can usher in the globalist utopia that they want, where they get to make all the decisions. So this prosecutor in the Smollett situation, this is a perfect example of it. And it's right in your face. This is one of the reasons that a lot of people talk about one of the best things Trump did was appointing so many judges. Because the court system is so corrupt, it's so perverse in many areas, that it doesn't matter what we vote for. It doesn't matter what law enforcement does. I mean, look at just to Trump, the things they did. They take Trump to court and say he doesn't have the right to decide to have bans on people from certain countries coming here. That's absurd. That's clearly written. That's clearly the rule of the executive branch. But they say, oh, all of a sudden you can't. They challenge him in any given set. You have the Court of Appeals, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. They'll challenge Trump on anything. Heck, they're the ones who, under Obama, had the law that makes kids be put in cages. Yet Trump gets blamed for it. That was the most liberal court there was that decided that. Why? Because they know, if we say that kids can't be with their parents, these illegal immigrants, they can't be caged with their parents, so we have to cage them separately, that'll cause a movement for people to say, you can't cage kids separately. Therefore, the solution is, what do we see all the Democrats say? We shouldn't detain people. It shouldn't be a criminal offense to come here illegally. You see how they use the law to try to get what they knew they couldn't get through voting, open borders? They set up the problem. We'll set up the law to say that kids have to be put in cages, and then we'll use our media to push, how horrible is this? Now we better just leave all illegal immigrants in. So I won't be satisfied with Smollett going down. He should, obviously. But I think it's even more important to bring down that prosecutor, that district attorney. It's time to get answers. Yeah, and you're right, Barry. It happens locally as well. Did I miss anything? All right, that's Smollett. I'm not going to waste my breath on him anymore. So, now would be a good time to remind you, please check out the description of this video. Follow me on, if you're watching on whatever platform, you can follow me on YouTube, DLive, Twitter, BitChute. Give me monies on Patreon or PayPal. I'd appreciate it. Let's move on. Next story. Let's talk about... I promised someone I would talk about this. I'm not going to bring up the article, but I'll talk about it here. I'll post a link to it in the YouTube chat if you want to follow along. This is about gun right, or it's about Governor Northam again. VA House passes bill to award electoral votes to national popular vote winner for POTUS. This is February 7th this year. The Virginia House passed a bill to join the National Compact of States, pledging to award their electoral college votes to the winner of the popular vote. HB 177 was resurrected on Friday in the House Delegates' Privilege and Elections Committee after it failed to report out of committee last week. On Tuesday, the House passed Measure 5146. The bill received a 12-9 approval in committee Friday after blah, blah, blah. The compact would become effective if it was the backing of states that collectively have 270 electoral votes, the threshold needed for a presidential candidate to win the presidency. If Virginia joins the compact, additional states must follow suit in order for it to take effect. If the compact becomes valid, if 270 electoral votes worth of states decide to sign on to the compact, Virginia can't back out if they suddenly decide they don't like the results of the election. So in 2016, if they had chosen Clinton and the vote went to Trump, they can't say, well, we didn't like the candidate, we would let Virginia decide instead. Now, you've heard of these bills before, right? And what this is it's a way to get around the Electoral College. Now, the Electoral College is so important because our country is a country of federalism, which is of state rights. They understood, the Founding Fathers understood that there was such diversity around the beliefs and the livelihoods and the lifestyles of people in the different states that there needed to be certain things to bring these states together, right? Remember, like I was saying last night, it wasn't that you were an American, you were a Virginian, right? You were a Pennsylvanian, etc. That's how you identified yourself. You were more connected to your state than your country. So we needed to have certain things that the states were able to say, okay, we still have our voice as a state, even if we are collectively one big country. And the system they came up with was actually a brilliant one, where based on your population of the people that are voting, you get a certain number of people in the House of Representatives. But each state gets 2 senators. And that's to make sure that less populous states that sometimes were contributing incredibly to the union anyways, even though they didn't have as many people, their contributions were just as important. They had somewhat of an equal say when it came to the Senate. The Electoral College is grounded in the same idea. That this way we give a chance for states that otherwise would not have as much of a voice, but that could be crucially important to our country to have a more equal playing field. So I could go on and I should do a whole show on the Electoral College, but that's the idea behind it. Because otherwise, if you were a new burgeoning state, like imagine, so you had the 13 states originally, right? But then we started to go out west, and you had all these states that were applying for statehood, but you basically had pioneers going out, and they weren't the most populous states. Imagine how they would have got screwed over. No one would have cared about the rights of people in Oregon when the Oregon Trail was going on because there weren't many people there. So, hey, tough luck, popular vote. Sorry, New York City decided the election. So this way it was set up to make sure the interests of those that maybe don't have the wealth or don't live in these connected centers still had a voice. The left desperately wants to take this out. And the reason is because they hate flyover country. They tell you all the time. They think you're 10-toothed rubes. They don't want people in rural America to have a voice. Now, the land and the working of the land in rural America still to this day is what makes the country tick. If you got rid of all the farming country and the people that farmed, if you got rid of all the blue-collar workers and people that drive trucks or, that work on the infrastructure and all this stuff, then the country would fall apart. That's not to say that people that live in the cities and stuff don't make valuable contributions as well. But they think only we should have the deciding factor. Now, along with this comes then the more challenges you see with things like election fraud. It's bad enough that we could have illegals voting in places like California now. We're giving them driver's license. We know that fraud occurs and that it's constantly downplayed. Remember, the same people that constantly told you, oh, the FBI wouldn't have used unverified opposition research as a reason for a FISA warrant. And then once that was proven true, they said, well, they did it legally. It wasn't that they broke their protocol or did it corruptly or anything. And then once we found that out, they said, well, it wasn't a big deal anyways. Those are the same people that tell you, how dare you say that there's election fraud? The exact same people. If we get rid of the Electoral College, at least now it's sort of contained. So yeah, California's going to vote Democrat. Yep, we know. But imagine if the popular vote came in. What would that mean? Well, now California is still running their elections. The state is still in charge of their elections. And now all of the illegals that could potentially vote there, they make a difference nationally instead of just in the state. By the way, how are the same people that are going to lecture you about the Electoral College going to be the ones that ran the Iowa caucus debacle? They still believe in super delegates. Bernie won the popular vote in Iowa, yet he didn't get all the delegates. Yet they'll lecture you. What it is, and I remember, I can't find the article, but I remember reading articles in the mainstream media that said, Trump may win the popular vote, but still lose in a landslide. And it was because they were expecting lower turnout in places like California where Hillary was expected to crush, so people just weren't going to go out. So the red states that were enthusiastic to see Obama be ousted would vote in droves for Trump. He would win the popular vote, but still lose the states that he needed. Now, I don't remember when that article was out, Hillary Clinton saying, well, that would be an outrage. Oh my goodness, can you imagine that? No, I would concede and give the vote to Trump if he won the popular vote. I don't remember the Democrats saying that. They were perfectly fine to say we have this blue wall that can't be broken. Oh, that's what's important, right? They said that for years under Obama. It was all about that blue wall. That was an endorsement of the Electoral College. They didn't care if Mitt Romney or John McCain won the popular vote. They had the blue wall. Now, all of a sudden, when they lose, it's a problem. Starting to notice a pattern? Oh, if Trump, when he loses, his supporters won't accept the election results. Now, what's been the argument by the Democrats for 3 years, going on 4 now? They don't accept the election results. It wasn't fair. It was cheating. Blah, blah, blah. Trump cheated. The Russians. The popular vote. Blah, 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 blah. So, of course, they want a popular vote so that then their corruption in Democratic strongholds will be able to affect the vote nationally. How stupid is it if you're a state to sign on to something like this? What Virginia just did. Now, remember, don't freak out just yet, because the pact says that you need states that equal 270 votes in the Electoral College before the pact is triggered, and they're nowhere near that. So that would mean you'd need roughly, half the states, 2/3 of the states, something like that. Depending on which states it was, obviously. States with higher electoral votes would have a bigger weight on that. But why would you ever sign on to something like this? I mean, you basically just told the people of Virginia, we don't care how you vote. You might as well stay home. Because Virginia, it's probably not going to have enough people to swing the popular vote one way or another. Right? Just think about it. Say, I don't know, 100 million people vote. The chances of, if you take Virginia out, the popular vote remaining the same are probably 98%. So you basically just told the people of Virginia, your vote doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter at all. I mean, that's insanity. Now, people complain about the Electoral College. Oh, it means that the votes of New York City is irrelevant. No, it doesn't. Not at all. Because of the population of New York City gets more votes in the Electoral College. So your vote in New York still matters. It just doesn't completely wipe out states like Wyoming and things like that. And that's what they're furious about. They want Wyoming wiped out. They want rural America's voice wiped out. That's what they want. So, 2 down votes? No. You know what it is? I know why I'm getting downvoted. It's because they don't know that I'm the greatest YouTube channel out there. So once more, inspired by the Democrat caucus in Iowa, I will flip a coin. If flipping a coin's good enough in the caucus to decide who will be the nominee for president, then it's good enough for me. So the challenge is this. Am I the best content creator in the history of the web? Or is it one of the millions of other people that have done it? I figure it's about a tie, so we'll flip a coin to decide. Let's go. All right. Just like the Iowa caucus. I'll flip it sometimes. Oh, it's heads. It's heads. Yes. Now the downvotes will disappear. I'm certain. They didn't know. They were watching the greatest content provider in the history of the web. They just didn't know. But now you know. Here you are. All right. Have fun, brother. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, that's what it's about. That's what the Electoral College was about. So, all right. Now, the real story I wanted to talk to today, now that I'm 40 minutes into my show, is all of these career DOJ people resigning. So, we have Zelensky, Kravis, I forget the names of the other. The names aren't going to be important. What you need to know is these are all people that were appointed by Mueller. So here's the story of what happened this week. Roger Stone was charged, right? And he was convicted. Now they're in the sentencing phase. And these people that used to work for Mueller came out and said, we recommend 7 to 9 years for Roger Stone. Now, what was Roger Stone's crime? Do you even know? Well, his real crime was he supported Donald Trump. That's the crime. But his crime that he's supposedly charged with was lying about his contacts with WikiLeaks. He was not charged with working with WikiLeaks. He was not charged with helping to hack the DNC. He was not charged with working with Russians. He was charged with lying. Just like Flynn was charged. Just like Papadopoulos. They were unable to get anyone on any charges whatsoever regarding the actual crime that they alleged. Unable. So they say, you lied. And then they charge people. Now, I want you to ask yourself, do you have a problem with that? Is it okay for the FBI, for Congress, to charge people with lying to them? If that's the law, fine. But what I have a problem with is, one, the selective application of it, and second, merely relying on the words of the corrupt FBI to determine who lied to them. For example, why in God's name does the FBI not record every time they're talking to someone? I'm a person that would say, I'm poor. I live paycheck to paycheck. I have one of these. If you notice on the back here, this is a camera. It could actually not just take pictures, it could take video as well. Now, basically, everyone I know isn't that wealthy. And they all have a similar device. Mind-blowing, right? You could use it wherever you're at. Maybe you see a pretty animal, nice flowers. You're watching something on TV you would like to record. You could do all of that. Isn't that amazing? Not bad quality either. Make out what they say, better than the surveillance cameras you see at your local 7-Eleven. Make out what people are saying. You can see them. Now, the FBI has almost unlimited funds. I guess they can't afford these. I mean, they have them when they're texting their lovers about smelling Trump supporters in Walmart. They got them then. But it never occurred to them, hey, maybe we should set this up on a table or something and record our interrogation with the people we're interrogating. Now go watch NYPD Blue or Law and Order. Heck, go watch In the Heat of the Night. Did you ever see those scenes? They get the criminal. Yet Sipowicz comes in, barreling in. He throws him in the chair and he starts slamming his fist. Damn it, we know you did it. Give us the guts, right? There's a little camera up in the corner. Sometimes the cops go up there and hook the camera, and then they're going to really threaten the guy. But they put him in that interrogation room with the camera. That's the way it's supposed to be. Even on TV, they got it right. Somehow our FBI's like, nah, that's not for us. We don't want the evidence actually recorded so any impartial person can see it. Instead, here's what our system will be. You just have to believe the one or two people in the FBI that are doing the interview. And then sometimes weeks later, sometimes immediately, but sometimes weeks later, we will, through our recollection, write a series of notes. And then those notes will be the official record. How insane is that? Now, on its own, that's bad enough. But then when we're talking about, oh, it's a crime that could possibly be 7 years in jail to lie to one of these people, what if they just misremember? Sorry, 7 years. What if they're corrupt? Sorry, 7 years. But I didn't say that to the FBI, sir. Oh, can you prove it? Well, no, they didn't film it. It's just their word against mine. Yeah, we're going to take their word. Sorry. The same corrupt FBI that thought it was okay to change evidence to say the opposite of what it actually said. That same FBI. You just have to take their word. If you get interviewed by the FBI, there's not going to be a film. It's going to be their word. If they hate you and decide to make something up, tough luck. You'll never be able to prove that's what you said. At all. Because it's just their recollection. That's all that matters. Now, we know in the case of Flynn, I went through and used the actual 302s that were produced by Strzok and the other guy and showed that Flynn never lied, according to their notes. But they redid the 302. They re-remembered things. They remembered things they forgot. Oh, and it just so happened Flynn was guilty then. I don't care. If there are laws on the books, that's fine. Charge people. But there has to be equal application. And the sentencing has to be equal. How many times, I'm getting tired of saying it, I'm sure you all are getting tired of listening to it. I still have an outstanding challenge. Anyone out there, maybe one of you two people that give me a thumbs down, show me an example of any of the crimes that Trump or his team has been accused or charged with, and I could show you the Democrats or the intel agents committing that same crime more seriously or more blatantly. And in every single example, the Democrats, the people in the intel agencies, they're allowed to get away scot-free. The people connected to Trump are charged as heavily as possible. So it's not just they're charged with the crime, but then their sentences are oftentimes incredible. Like Manafort sitting in solitary confinement, probably spend the rest of his life in jail. 7 to 9 years for lying about who you contacted about WikiLeaks. Not that you helped Russian interference. Not that you worked with WikiLeaks. Just you tried to contact them. You lied about that. 7 to 9 years. That's what they said. So, it comes out that that's what these people, now this was people like Zelensky and the rest of them, that were appointed by Mueller. They had this recommendation. Trump immediately, not just Trump, by the way, anyone who saw this was like, what? 7 to 9 years? Are you kidding me? People were flabbergasted. I mean, not the corrupt establishment, not their media mouthpieces. They weren't flabbergasted. Not the people at the FBI and CIA. They weren't flabbergasted. But actual objective people that know the history of what people get sentenced to if they're accused of lying. This wasn't them saying, we think Stone's guilty or innocent. They're just saying, wow, I can't believe 7 years for lying. Papadopoulos got what, 48 hours? Roger Stone gets 7 years? Well, Roger Stone's been a career thorn in the side of the establishment. So they're going to bring him down. Remember, they came while he was in his underwear. CNN, they tipped CNN off to be standing there filming him so they could humiliate him. The FBI came in with guns drawn, dozens of them, to get what, a 70-year-old man in his underwear? Why is our federal law enforcement working hand in hand with CNN? If they showed up with so many guns, the implication would be, right, that Roger Stone might be a dangerous man. That's why all the guns were necessary. So why would you tip off civilians in the press to possibly get in the way of a shootout? So either they were wrong to bring so many guns because it was just going to be a publicity thing and simple, or they were wrong to contact CNN. And then they all lied about it. Oh, no, we didn't tell CNN. It just so happened CNN had a camera crew sitting out Roger Stone's house 24/7 for the past 3 years. Does anyone believe this crap? So then you have these Mueller-appointed people that recommend 7 to 9 years. Everyone's outraged. So Trump comes out and is like, this is nonsense. 7 to 9 years? And so it's announced that the DOJ, which these prosecutors were part of, the DOJ, is like, no, we're reviewing this sentence. That's ridiculous. Now you're starting to see Zelensky and the rest of these people resign. What is the resignation about? They're trying to shape the narrative right now. Look what happened to Vindman. Then 70 people were let go. The NSC, the National Security Council, they're dropping people like flies. All of these Obama holdovers, finally, like I said, Trump's starting to get his swagger. He's starting to understand what's going on. He's starting to finally have the ability to go on the offense. At least so I hope. So he's firing people. Get them out. Get these holdovers out. These attorneys that worked under Mueller, they knew what was coming. They knew that they were on the chopping block for this. They knew that this sentence was exorbitant. They did it intentionally. They sent a signal trying to say that Roger Stone is some mastermind criminal and that if you're connected to Trump, you're going to go down no matter what. Come hell or high water. They'll do it blatantly. They'll go well past the suggested guidelines blatantly. They don't care that the obvious corruption's there. And then they knew that it would be so blatant that it would force the hand of Trump to say, no, there is no way 7 to 9 years. And then they could play the victims. Well, we're resigning because we're outraged, is what they're saying. And that's the narrative tonight. That's the narrative that the media is going with. That's the narrative the DNC is going with. This will result in, mark my words, maybe you didn't hear it here first, but I haven't heard anyone say this yet. There will be another call for impeachment, is what this is going to result from. Oh, Trump weaponized the DOJ. That's impeachment. Oh, we got to have an impeachment inquiry. That's the next step. Watch and see. These noble, hardworking people like Zelensky, career people, career officials doing God's work. Just like Mitt Romney and Vindman, he's a hero. He stood up to Trump and resigned. That's the narrative. Trump shouldn't be afraid of that narrative, by the way. Go ahead, let them spin their garbage. The truth is they're corrupt. I saw Devin Nunes tonight on Lou Dobbs' show, I wish I had the clip, saying, look, there's more coming down the pipe. We're going to investigate these prosecutors to see exactly what was going on with Mueller's team. Because all of these, remember when Trump was saying 17 dirty Democrats connected that Mueller hired? That was the truth. Remember when you saw Mueller testify? What did I say in my show? And a bunch of other people said too. It was blatant that Mueller had no idea what his own report said. He was just a figurehead. It was being run by Zelensky and these people in the background. These Trump haters, these people that had worked with Hillary Clinton and her foundation in the past. That's who was running the show. Devin Nunes says specifically, we know that when Mueller came in and he assembles his team, he says, all right, guys, show me all the goods we have on Russia collusion. And they're like, we don't have anything. So what were they doing for 2 years? Because we know they never had anything. We know early on that even the subsource of Christopher Steele was telling the FBI and by proxy Mueller's team, all of this is garbage. The entire Steele dossier is garbage. Yet they proceeded to carry on the investigation for some reason past the 2018 election. Now I wonder why that is. Now the media tonight, they're incessant. Oh my God. Like, go to Twitter right now. Go to the blue checkmark class and just watch tweet after tweet after tweet where people are like, oh my God, I can't, I'm literally shaking. The weaponization of the DOJ. This is tyranny. This is a dictator president. I can't believe this. Weaponizing his agencies like this. Four people resigned because they offered a crazy sentence and Trump's DOJ said that sentence is too high. That's the dictatorship that they're talking about. That's what they all have the vapors in their shaking about. Show me one damn one of these people that showed any anger whatsoever at what we found out about the FBI. So let me get this straight. If the DOJ says, wait a minute, I think that the attorneys that work for us recommended too harsh of a sentence, so we're going to review it. That's considered tyranny. That's Trump being tyrannical, and that's going to be, they say, reason to impeach him. But Obama and Comey and their FBI, using unverified opposition research that turned out to be lies sourced from the Kremlin, to spy on Trump illegally over and over again, changing evidence to say the opposite of what it was, withholding information from the FISA court that they knew for months that the entire case was bogus because the actual source told them that. No big deal. That's no big deal. I've been talking about the weaponization of the CIA and the FBI for 2 years on this channel, oftentimes screaming quite loud about it. Yet none of these people cared about that weaponization of the most powerful law enforcement agencies in the history of the world. But if the FBI, imagine this, right? Again, put the Democrats, again, the establishment Democrats, and the media and all of these groups, put them in context with what they're saying. Never look at what they're saying with a vacuum. Or in a vacuum. Or with a vacuum. I guess you don't want to... What they're saying is this. It was okay for the FBI to change evidence. It was okay for them to use unverified information we now know was lies to spy on Trump. It was okay for them to hide the fact that the subsource told them that it was all bogus. All of that was okay. It was okay to leak stuff to the press like Comey did. It was okay for Strzok and Page to have they could smell Trump supporters at Walmart. We need an insurance policy. All of that was okay, right? They think that was fine. Now, had the FBI, had Comey or someone else said, hey, actually, we think that we would like to reduce the sentence. We recommend reducing the sentence of one of the people that we investigated. That would have been, oh my God, the corruption. Talking about reducing a sentence? That's so corrupt. What would we do if the FBI was corrupt and recommended reducing a sentence? Oh, that would be the end of our country. The corruption, the dictatorship. See, if Trump would have just deleted all evidence that there was against Roger Stone that was subpoenaed, if Trump would have just weaponized the FBI to go after the prosecutors looking at Roger Stone, investigated them, raided their house in the middle of the night while he tipped off Fox News to be there so they could get drug out at gunpoint in their underwear. If Trump had done all that to discredit the prosecution of Roger Stone, that would have all been perfectly fine. No problem. That's perfectly reasonable, according to the media and the Democrats. But suggesting reducing a sentence? Oh my goodness. Now, this is just the start of it. I'm going to show you just one example. Let me show you an article from 2018. from Federalist. Make sure you can all see this. Yeah. Well, there. That'll help a little. Declassified congressional report. James Clapper lied about dossier leaks to CNN. A newly declassified report on Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. elections reveals that former intelligence chief James Clapper lied to Congress about information he shared with CNN on the infamous Steele dossier. Buried within this is from April 27, 2018. Buried within a newly declassified congressional report on Russian meddling in the 2016 elections is a shocking revelation. Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper not only leaked information about the infamous Steele dossier in high-level government briefings about it to CNN, but he may have lied to Congress about the matter. In one of the findings in the 253-page report, the House Intelligence Committee wrote that Clapper leaked the details of the dossier briefing given to the then-President-elect Donald Trump to CNN's Jake Tapper, lied to Congress about the leak, and was rewarded by CNN with a contract a few months later. Clapper flatly denied discussing the dossier compiled by Steele or any other intelligence related to Russia hacking of the 2016 election with journalists, the committee found. When asked directly whether he'd ever discussed the dossier with other journalists, Clapper replied that he had not, according to the transcript of the proceedings. Mr. Rooney asked, "Did you discuss the dossier or any other intelligence related to Russia hacking of the 2016 election with journalists?" Clapper replies, "No." The former DNI later changed his story after he was confronted specifically about his communications with Jake Tapper of CNN. Clapper subsequently acknowledged discussing the dossier with CNN journalist Jake Tapper and admitted that he might have spoken with other journalists about the same topic. Clapper's discussions with Tapper took place in early January 2017, around the time the intelligence community leaders briefed President Obama and President Trump on the Christopher Steele information, a two-page summary which was enclosed in the highly classified version of the ICA. The briefing of Trump by U.S. intelligence chiefs was held on January 6. CNN published its story on the briefing based on anonymous leaks from two national security officials on January 10th. BuzzFeed published the whole dossier. The revelation that Clapper was responsible for leaking the details of the dossier in the briefings to two presidents on the matter is significant because former Federal Bureau of Investigation Director Comey wrote in one of the four memos that he leaked that the briefing of Trump on salacious and unverified allegations from the dossier was necessary because CNN had them and were looking for a news hook. The congressional report on Russian interference noted that it was the very briefing of Trump that multiple media organizations used as the excuse to publish the dossier. The committee assesses the leaks to CNN about the dossier were especially significant, since CNN's report of the two-page synopsis of the report was given to President Obama and Trump was the proximate cause of BuzzFeed News' decision to publish the dossier for the first time a few hours later. Up until that point, the dossier had been circulated among elected officials, intelligence agencies, and journalists, but remained unpublished. The Federalist Mulling Hemingway noted, after Comey's memos were finally made available to the public, the fired FBI director's account of the briefing of Trump suggested that the entire briefing was a setup from the beginning. I'll get to that in a second. In their coordinated response to the full Intelligence Committee's finding, committee Democrats defended Clapper, claiming that he broke no laws while acknowledging that he did leak information about the dossier to CNN's Jake Tapper. Evaluated in context, this is the Democrats, ready? Evaluated in context, Clapper denied leaking classified information while acknowledging that, as DNI, he engaged in legitimate discussion of unclassified non-intelligence information with Tapper. Now, why do I bring this up? What did all that say? I know I read fast. Maybe I read too fast. What's up, Duke? Clapper was asked, "Did you talk about the dossier to anyone?" He says, "No." Then he's confronted with evidence. "Actually, you talked to Jake Tapper." "Okay, maybe I talked to Tapper and some other journalists." What did he do? He lied to Congress. The same thing Roger Stone's accused of. Lying to Congress or the FBI. The exact same process crime. Now, I could show you Comey lying to Congress. I could show you Mills and Abedin lying to the FBI. I could show you Hillary Clinton lying to the FBI. Did they look at 7 to 9 years, any of them? Is Clapper looking at 7 to 9 years in prison for this lie? Or how about the lie he told? Let's look at the bottom of this article. Clapper, who previously lied to Congress about whether the U.S. government was electronically spying on millions of Americans, was subsequently hired by CNN just months after his leak. So, lying about your Fourth Amendment rights being destroyed by the federal government, no big deal. That lie's no big deal. Now, if you lie about exactly who you talk to try to get information from WikiLeaks, that's worth 7 to 9 years. But repeatedly lying to Congress, now this is 2 instances of Mr. Clapper here, and this is from 2018. Look at what the Democrats say, right? The same people that are foaming at the mouth that Roger Stone needs to spend 7 to 9 years in jail. And not only does he need to spend 7 to 9 years, if you disagree, if the president and the DOJ disagrees, well, then it's them being dictators disagreeing with this. Let's see what they said about Clapper's lie. You ready? Quote again. Evaluated in context, Clapper denied leaking classified information while acknowledging that, as Director of National Intelligence, he engaged in legitimate discussion of unclassified non-intelligence information with Tapper. Okay, there's 2 problems with this. One, where is it at? IC leaders briefed President Obama and President-elect Trump on the Christopher Steele information. A 2-page summary which was enclosed in the highly classified version of the intelligence community assessment. So it was classified information. The Democrats know that. If I know that, if Sean Davis from the Federalist knows that, the Democrats know it. So why are they saying, well, when we look at it in context, he was only talking about non-classified things? Garbage. That's a lie. And secondly, they said, oh, he didn't really lie. He was just as Director of National Intelligence. He had to talk. Let's see what the question was again. Mr. Rooney asked him, did you discuss the dossier or any other intelligence related to Russia hacking of 2016 election with journalists? Clapper says, no. He didn't say, well, I discussed unclassified things and things that I thought weren't very important. He didn't say that, did he? He said, no, I did not discuss the dossier. Now, we know he did discuss the dossier. That is lying to Congress. Now, not only did he lie to Congress, not only did he leak to Jake Tapper, but then days later, he gets a job at CNN. Now, here's the rest of the story, just in case you're interested. CNN knew about this from Clapper. We now know that. But Brennan was also courting CNN and an employee there, the former head of the CIA. So we have the former Director of National Intelligence out to get Trump. We have the former head of the FBI, James Comey, out to get Trump. We have the former head of the CIA, Brennan, out to get Trump. Brennan's at CNN. He goes to Comey, and Comey's admitted this. Brennan went to Comey and said, hey, look, you need to do a briefing with President Trump on that dossier, on the P allegations in it. It's really important that you do this. Comey admits he takes Brennan's advice. Brennan and a couple other high-level officials were the ones that knew. We now know, right, that Rebecca and Baker and all these people at the FBI, they told Comey to go into that briefing with Trump and treat it as if they were interrogating someone who's accused of a crime, to take notes as soon as he left so that it could potentially be used for an investigation later. Now, they had no evidence or no suggestion whatsoever at this point that Trump committed any crimes. None. Yet they're treating him like a suspect in a crime. The president-elect of the United States, or at this point, maybe just someone running for president of the United States, is what it would be more accurately. That's insane. So Comey, who we know treated Trump like a suspect, listens to Brennan. Only these high-level officials in the FBI and someone like Brennan knows about the meeting, right? Then, as a result of the meeting, Comey admits some high-level official leaked the fact that Comey met with Trump. Then CNN used the meeting with Trump as justification to run the story. Because as terrible as CNN and these other places are, and they're worse now. Now they would just run any allegation. They certainly would. Look at what they do to Kavanaugh. But back then, remember, they're still trying to salvage the veneer of credibility. There was this guy, Larry Sinclair, and he claimed that he was a homosexual man that had homosexual relations with Barack Obama and did drugs with him. This guy was peddling his story everywhere, right? Yet no one in the press talked about it, not even Fox News. Why? Well, they couldn't verify it, so they didn't talk about it. The news story that CNN ran wasn't the dossier. The news story was, oh, the intelligence leaders think that this dossier is credible. That's why they're briefing Trump. That gave them a backdoor way into talking about the dossier, particularly the P allegations, trying to smear Trump. And who set the whole thing up? John Brennan. And then someone leaked to CNN. Probably John Brennan. So look at what we have in totality. CNN finds out about the dossier by James Clapper, former director of national intelligence. They promptly hire him for that information. Then John Brennan, who's at CNN, tells Comey, hey, you need to go interview Trump about this. Comey and the rest of the people at the head of the FBI decide, we'll treat Trump like a suspect. They interview him. Then that leak, supposedly Comey said, I said, Mr. President, we're worried that this could be leaked to the press. They're just waiting for a news hook. Then the very meeting that Comey had was used as the hook to spread the story because someone leaked it. Someone like Brennan, former head of the Director of National Intelligence, former head of the CIA, and the head of the FBI. All trying to get unverified, salacious, Russian-sourced dirt against Trump into the mainstream narrative. Now, I said from the beginning, let's assume that Comey didn't know that his story or his meeting would be used as the news hook, right? Comey's version is this. I was worried that CNN would run this story, and I didn't want this being made public until it was investigated. That's Comey's version, right? So Comey thought it was important to tell Trump, Mr. Trump, news outlets are sitting on this story. They're waiting for a reason to run it, so be careful. He was told by John Brennan to do this. So Comey's saying, oh, I didn't want this story spread. But then someone in Comey's team or someone connected to Comey, Brennan or someone high up at the FBI, leaked the details of his meeting with Trump to CNN. Now put yourself in James Comey's position here for a minute. Let's say that let's make the incredible leap of logic that Comey's telling the truth here. The guy's a professional liar and scumbag and treasonous, in my opinion, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, he's telling the truth here, okay? So he really was just trying to protect Trump, because that's what he's saying. He didn't want this salacious dirt being ran on national media outlets until it was properly investigated. So he wanted Trump to know, look, be prepared. They could try to run this dirt. They're trying to find a reason to run it. Okay? So let's assume Comey's telling the truth. If you're James Comey, and then you go home and you find out that you're trying to protect Trump, you're trying to stop this news story from coming out, and then someone close to you at the FBI or your pal John Brennan leaked to CNN your meeting, the details of your meeting with Trump, and that is the hook that they used to release the story. Wouldn't you be absolutely furious if you're James Comey and you were serious about protecting Trump from this story being released? You would say, my God, it's my fault the story got released. They're using me as the excuse. And why? Because one of my trusted officials high up in the FBI or high up in the intel community leaked improperly details of a classified meeting I had with the president to CNN. You would be furious if you really didn't want CNN to run the story, wouldn't you? Now, can someone show me one article or one interview where James Comey said, I was absolutely furious that this got leaked to CNN? I can't find it. Seems like he didn't care at all that it got leaked. In fact, it seems like he was happy, just like he was happy when he leaked details, classified information to members of the press in order to ensure a special prosecutor, which he got his lifelong mentor, Bob Mueller. So he got exactly what he wanted by illegally leaking. So that's just a little rehash of that story to show you how corrupt all three heads of the intel communities were. All in just that's one little part of this story. But we know, dead to rights, we know James Clapper lied. Did you talk to any reporters about the dossier? Nope. Yes, he did. Why isn't he looking at 7 to 9 years? Why did the Democrats, not only did they not recommend 7 to 9 years, but they said he did nothing wrong. That lie was perfectly fine. Yet in Roger Stone's case, he has to be looking at 7 to 9 years. Let's see again what Stone was accused of doing. Prosecutors charged that Stone lied to Congress about his conversations about WikiLeaks with New York radio host Randy Credico, who had scored an interview with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in 2016, and conservative writer and conspiracy theorist Jerome Corsi. During the 2016 campaign, Stone mentioned in interviews and public appearances that he was in contact with Assange through a trusted intermediary, and hinted at inside knowledge of WikiLeaks plans. But he started pressing Credico to broker a contact, and Credico testified that he told Stone to work through his own intermediary. That's it. That's what Stone was charged with. Lying to Congress about conversations about WikiLeaks with New York radio host Randy Credico. He basically said, I didn't talk to Credico about WikiLeaks. Credico said, yes, he did. Now he looks at 7 to 9 years. Now, what lie was more significant? That lying about whether or not, keep in mind, Roger Stone, not guilty of any of the underlying crimes, not guilty of interfering in the election, not guilty of working with Russians, right? Not even guilty of working with WikiLeaks. But that lie's worth 79 years. But Clapper leaking information to harm a presidential candidate of a major party and lying about it, no problem. Clapper lying about our Fourth Amendment rights being violated when he was Director of National Intelligence, no problem. Comey lied when he said that he only talked to 2 people about the release of the information of his memos. That's a lie. It was 3. He lied when he said none of it was classified. It was. We know Brennan's lied several times to Congress. We know that Mills and Abedin both lied to the FBI. That's because WikiLeaks shows us that they knew about Hillary Clinton's server as far back as 2009. Yet released FBI memos show us that they testified to the FBI they were unaware of Hillary's classified server until after her tenure as Secretary of State. In other words, they knew about it before her tenure as Secretary of State and all the way through her tenure and after her tenure. But they lied to the FBI. They lied about the exact crime that was being investigated. Yet they weren't charged. We have proof. We know they were lying. They weren't charged. We know the FBI memos said that they thought it defined credulity that Hillary Clinton testified to them, excuse me, that she thought the C at the top of the documents was alphabetical order and not an indication of whether or not the information was classified. They said it defined credulity. You know what that means, define credulity? It was beyond belief. In other words, it was a lie. That's what the FBI agent thought Hillary Clinton thought she lied. Yep, she wasn't charged. Why is it that supposedly lying to the FBI or lying to Congress is only a crime when it's someone connected to Trump? Everyone else could lie with impunity. That's what's so aggravating about all this. How many times do I have to say it? All I want's equal application of the law. Fine. You want to throw the book of Roger Stone for 7 to 9 years? Lock up Mills and Abedin, drag them out in their underwear while Fox News is filming it. Drag Hillary Clinton out in her underwear, shudder the thought, while Fox News is filming it. Same with Brennan, Clapper, Comey. Drag them all out. Then fine. No problem. They all get 7 to 9 years. I'll accept that. But no, it's always hardest punishment whatsoever on this side, no punishment whatsoever on the other side. Every single time. Every time. And then we have, but these people resigning, they're heroes because they wanted this 7 to 9 years. The same angry Democrats that Trump talked about that were appointed on Mueller's team. Mueller and his corrupt operation that he had going, that they knew for years that there was no evidence whatsoever of collusion with anyone in Trump's team illegally with any Russian. They knew it from the get-go. They knew the Steele dossier was garbage. From the get-go, they knew it. Peter Strzok, in some of his released texts, admitted that, quote, there was no there at the beginning of the investigation. And he was someone desperately trying to bring Trump down the whole time. At the very start of Mueller's investigation, he said, there's nothing here. The entire thing was just a trap to try to get people connected to Trump to commit process crimes. Crimes that the very people at the head of the FBI and the Intel Committee commit themselves, lying to Congress. But it's no problem when they lie. How is it that I have dead to rights the head of the FBI, James Comey, lying to Congress right? But his agents that are working under him that we know broke the law and actually changed evidence and broke FBI protocol over and over to spy on Trump's team, I have to take their word on 302s about whether or not people lied to them. So if I get indicted for lying, right, or you prove that I'm a liar and I lie to Congress, but then I interview you and I say, yeah, you lied. Trust me, I kept the notes here. And you say, well, wait a minute, this guy's a known liar. He clearly wants to take me down. How can I trust his notes? Shut your mouth. That's un-American to question me. I'm in the FBI. That's how ridiculous this situation is. So good on Trump to step in. Good on the DOJ to step in and say, this is insane. Remember, I think that all of them should be pardoned. Everyone that was charged in this. This was a witch hunt from the get-go. No one was charged with the underlying crime. It's all process crime bullcrap. We know that people on the left, the Democrats, committed the same crimes. So they should all be pardoned. But that's not even what Trump did here. He just had his DOJ look and say the sentencing is too extreme. Not reverse the decision and say he's innocent. Not pardon him. But just the sentence is too extreme. It is. Lying about talking to a radio host, 9 years. That's what they're going to pretend was legitimate. Well, they lie nonstop and say, oh, it's not a crime when we do it. I read you what the Democrats said with Brennan. That's why I chose that article, because the Democrats comment. Absolutely proof, definitive. Did you talk about the dossier to any journalist? No. Okay, no one disputes. That's what Clapper said. Then no one disputes when he was presented with evidence that showed he was lying. Clapper changed his story and said, okay, yeah, I did talk to Tapper and maybe some more journalists. Now the Democrats have access to that same information. They say, that's fine. We don't mind that lie at all. It was okay to lie to Congress in that particular situation. No explanation as to why, just it's okay. He was the head of the DNI. We don't care that he lied to Congress. No problem. But 9 years for Roger Stone, says the same people, for the same crime. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Now, I'm kind of a schizophrenic. Sometimes I'm optimistic, sometimes I'm pessimistic. I will only believe that people are getting locked up when it starts to happen. Lindsey Graham, I did a thing about it here the other day. Lindsey Graham came out and said, that these people connected to the Russia hoax are going to get charged. Half of them will be in jail. I guess I'll believe it when I see it. But I do think that when Trump came out after the impeachment, that he had this swagger about him. Where he's just like, he called it bullshit. It is bullshit. He was just like, you know what? I don't care. They're going to accuse him of being a dictator and being corrupt no matter what he does. So he might as well do what's in his heart, as long as it's within legal bounds, which this clearly is. And he has all these people with, oh, don't aggravate the Democrats. Don't push them. Don't do something that they'll accuse you of being corrupt. Screw that. You go ahead and do it. Pardon them. Start releasing the information. Start showing us. Go on there. Where are the Republicans on this? Where are they? Where's your elected official? Where's the guy that I voted for today? Why isn't he on national television going, are you kidding me? The Democrats are flipping out because the DOJ recommended that this exorbitant penalty, 7 to 9 years, was too much for lying to Congress? When we have dead to rights that Brennan and Clapper and Comey lied to Congress? We have dead to rights that Mills and Abedin lied to the FBI? Do you ever hear anyone talking about that? I don't trust Lindsey Graham, John Jacobs, not at all. Oh, you're welcome, DM Demod. I mean, it's that ridiculous. The corruption is right in front of you. Look, let me be totally honest with you. Completely honest. I support Donald Trump. I've told you things he's done I don't like, but I support him, right? But I also understand not liking Donald Trump. I do. I can understand it on two levels. Not liking his personality Look, the guy cheated on his wife. That's not admirable. Not at all. I take that very seriously. He said some things that are regrettable, and to this, I don't mind a lot of his talk, but, sometimes when he's going after people beneath him, like Rosie O'Donnell, I'm like, dude, it's not that I'm offended, it's just like, hey, you're wasting your time. But I get that there are people with different sensibilities than me, and that they might really despise him for his character. That's fine. That's your decision. I'm not going to say you're wrong for that. I still think my personal thing is I would rather have someone who's doing right and ending corruption and that maybe even I personally didn't like than someone who seemed really likable and a cool guy that you could have a beer with, but that's terrible and corrupt. But to each their own. So you're out there, you're watching right now, you don't like Donald Trump, that's fine. You're welcome here too. I'll talk to you, absolutely. Maybe you don't like Trump's policies, right? Maybe you don't like the tariffs. Maybe you work in an industry and you feel that the tariffs have hurt you. Now, I could try to make a case to you why I think the tariffs were necessary, but fair enough. Maybe you just disagree with me. Or, maybe you dislike some of his other policies. Maybe you really believe in Medicare for all. It's not something that I'm for. I think it would be a disaster. But I don't think you're a monster for thinking something like that. Not at all. But I implore you, even if you hate Trump, please look at this type of stuff objectively. How in any world does it make sense that the people that are leading our investigations are committing the very crimes that they're accusing Trump people of? They're totally left off the hook, and they demand basically blood from anyone connected to Trump. How can you be remotely objective and okay with this? And yet that's where we find ourselves today, with almost the entire media class saying, oh my goodness, can you believe how much of a dictator Trump is for doing this? I mean, it's asinine, but they control the narrative. This is what I was talking about on the panel last night with American Joe. This is how I know we're winning. These facts are self-evident. These facts are true. Once you hear them, 99% of people are like, yeah, that's really bad. So what do they have to do? They have to control the narrative. They have to shut people like me down. They have to shut people like the Patriot panel down. That's what they have to do. It's not because we're great looking, though we are. It's not because we're the smartest people in the world, though we are. No, maybe not. It's not because we're hilarious. We're not special. It's because we just have access to this information. Some people work 9 to 5s. Understand this. It's weird for us. It's weird for people like this. Y'all are watching at 12:30 at night, at least Eastern time. You're watching some chubbo ramble on about politics tonight. So you're probably the type of person that takes an active interest in this stuff. But understand, there are millions upon millions of Americans that just don't. They might lean left. They might lean right. They might think, I don't care. All politics is corrupt. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to think about it. And most of them don't know this stuff. Most of them don't know John Brennan, that we have public admissions that John Brennan lied to Congress. The exact same crime that the media is slipping out tonight that Roger Stone deserves 9 years for. CNN hired Brennan. CNN says 9 years for lying in Congress for Roger Stone. But Clapper, not Brennan, Clapper, though they did hire Brennan as well. But Clapper will hire who committed the same crime. And the average person doesn't know that. That's why I'm trying to reach out to people on the left or the right to show the corruption. And I promise you, I absolutely promise you that I will be objective. And if I see corruption coming from other places, from Donald Trump or for people that I usually support, then I'm going to be right there. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at all my coverage of Trump when he bombed Syria. For days I was incessant about it. What a mistake it was, how terrible it was, how corrupt it was. I stand by it. It was the lowest point in Trump's presidency. But that's what's important, having an honest conversation, because it's being censored by the people that are gatekeepers of information, by the public institutions that are all controlled by the establishment, particularly the establishment left. I talk about this all the time. You don't hear this many other places. It's not just the mainstream media. They control the entertainment industry, which is hugely important. They control academia, which is indoctrinating our kids even at the elementary school level. They control Silicon Valley, which is trying to shadow ban or demonetize or whatever people like me, people bigger than me, even independent content creators on the left that disagree with the establishment left. They're trying to censor them. Though, let's not kid ourselves. It's more right-wing people getting censored. That's what this is about. That's what I'm trying to reach out. That's why I encourage you could come on. And I do. I talk a lot of policies. I talk about Trump's policies and things like that. Please come on and disagree with me. I love it. I think it's a great discussion. Things go better when you have people with diverse opinions. So I'm all for that. I really am. But we have to agree that these double standards and corruption need to be ended. They have to be. Again, I'll make another plea to the left. What's your issue? Climate change? Medicare for all? Look at how Bernie's getting screwed. And I have no love for Bernie, but I'll call a spade a spade. He's getting cheated again. Your issue doesn't matter as long as this corruption exists. Remember the theme going through tonight's show, right? The Jussie Smollett stuff. We're talking about, like last night, talking about the police, about these people, prosecutors, judges that are corrupt, that are encouraging criminal behavior, that are refusing to enforce the laws that people have voted for, right? That's what we started talking about. It doesn't matter how much you vote for vagrancy or for hypodermic needles being in the street or for shoplifting to be wrong. If the prosecutors and the judges refuse to enforce the will of the people, all of your voting is meaningless. So you got to get the corruption out. You got to get the corrupt prosecutor out. You got to get the corrupt judge out. It's the same here. If your issue is some left-wing issue, you better hope that the corrupt officials agree with you, because if they don't, it doesn't matter if 90% of people agree with you. Nothing will change. So the first thing we need to do is to realize ending this corruption, it goes across a left-right issue. We need to end the corruption. And then, my friends on the left, when we work to end the corruption, I'll be more than happy to disagree with you on the policies you want that I think are disastrous. But at least we could come from a place where it's not corrupt and we're actually talking about what we think would be best for the people. Yeah, good point, John. I mean, it's always nice to virtue signal to transsexuals talking to kids in libraries. Yeah, Bernie did win tonight, but trust me, they're doing all they can. I really believe that. So, yeah, that's my impassioned plea for tonight. So, I made some more mods tonight. Thank you to all of you that accepted being a mod. If I made you a mod and you don't want to be one, please just let me know and I can change that. Let me once more say this. I really, if I'm anything, I'm a free speech purist. I really am. And I would never accept being a mod for anyone because I don't want the authority. I just don't. I have accepted being a mod for a couple people, but that's just because for whatever reason on YouTube, when you're a mod, it's the only way you could link articles. So like my buddy SJG made me a mod just so I could link articles, but I will never remove someone. It's not something I'm interested in. It's like being a police officer. Respect the job. I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. Not for me. Just not something I'm interested in doing. Everyone I know a lot of people are mods at different channels, and whoever's running a channel, they can run it how they want. I ask, please have the lightest touch possible if you're a mod. If someone's on here and they're like, Rob's a big fat slob, he doesn't know what he's talking about, totally cool. Let him say it. If someone says Trump's horrible, he doesn't know what he's doing, fine. You know, we had people on Bernie's the man. That's cool. Please, come on and say it. No problem. In fact, I was talking to John Jacobs earlier. He said some of his favorite moments of me doing live streams arguing with Bernie supporters in the chat. But I was respectable. I mean, heck, the one Bernie supporter started off saying he wanted me to get hit by a bus, and by the end of it, he said, thanks for talking with me. So I'd say that's a slight victory. So yeah, please leave people on, in that situation. Now, if people are ridiculous vulgarity, or they're spamming, or they're placing porn links or something, yeah, that's, obviously use your discretion. But yeah, that's where I'm at on that. So let's see. At 12:30, I could go to bed at a reasonable hour tonight. Or are there any other? Let's see. Did I have any other stories pulled up that I wanted to talk about? So I've talked to you a lot about Q, and for those of you that don't know, just real quick, my take on Q. I respect Q. I think Q has a lot of great information, but I come at things from my own angle. I try to see the proof for myself. I'm not big into cryptic messaging or things like that. But I think we're both on the same track. We're both patriots trying to end corruption. That's it. But having said that, there are people I follow. I don't know if you all follow Tracy Beans on Twitter, but I really like her. And I think she's someone who's closely in the Q movement. And oftentimes she puts I think she has a knack like I do of putting things in a way that's this complicated stuff that's easy to understand and it's truthful. So I liked her tweet tonight, and let me just show it to you. I don't think she would mind if I show you. So she says, just today we had 1, a ridiculous sentencing memo in the Stone case filed and then publicly condemned and resubmitted. 2, all 4 prosecutors resigned in that case. 3, Jesse Liu, former U.S. attorney for DCU, was moving to a different position, removed from consideration, which is great. 4, a presser where the FBI confirmed an open and ongoing investigation in Ukraine. Fantastic. 5, Barr suing Sanctuary City. 6, a 6-count indictment against Jussie Smollett. 7, Biden leaving New Hampshire. Oh, I didn't even talk about New Hampshire. Yeah, I can still talk about that. Biden leaving New Hampshire early because he sucks so bad. 8, Bloomberg fall from his very low height in Hampshire on a hit on comments he made about stop and frisk from his own party. 9, a revelation by James Clapper leaked the dossier salacious allegations at CNN. Though in fairness, Tracy, that story was from 2018. Then we have Robert O'Brien come out and say the NSC will be down 115 to 100 staffers by the end of the week. Let me talk about this for a minute. The National Security Council was originally just a handful of people where they talked about important national security issues and how to take them on. It's ballooned to where we have hundreds upon hundreds of people needlessly in this. People like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman. Why do we want these holdovers who think they set foreign policy, not President Trump? Get rid of the National Security Council, or at least take it down to just a few trusted people for Trump. So that's great news that, again, Trump's getting that swagger. He's getting rid of people, but firing's not enough. And I'm not going to celebrate until I see people in jail, or at least charged. And number 12, Yang Gang's out. What a bummer. The Yang Gang. I actually kind of liked Yang as a person, though. You know, he became nuts. Oh, my plan, you wouldn't be allowed to own cars. Oh, we'd tax meat so that we would end meat consumption. Oh, Trump's a racist. You know. I mean, that's one of the things about Bernie that really gets me, right? Go read any Bernie's tweets. He'll say something like, we need to work together to take out the bigot, Donald Trump, and the 1%, and his racism and his bigotry. Right? I'm so tired of these smears. Who's going to take you seriously, Bernie? Show me Trump being a racist. I don't smear Bernie like that. I don't smear the left like that. I talk about their policies. I say they're cheering for corruption and things like that. But I'm not saying they're personally racist. Heck, I stuck up for Bernie and said there is no way in heck that he said that a woman couldn't win the presidency. That he's some kind of bigot. I said that's absurd. I don't like Bernie, but that's an absurd allegation. And Elizabeth Warren's a proven liar, and I'm not going to believe her. It was clearly a political hit job. Now let me also eat a little crow here, if you don't mind, which everybody loves when I admit I'm wrong. Oh, well, maybe, preacher, give me a minute. Let me talk about, give me a minute, and maybe I will take a call on Syria, yeah. But just real quick on the Democratic, I thought that Elizabeth Warren would be the nominee. It's starting to look like that's not the case. She's not out of it yet. But I thought she was the corporatist pick, the establishment pick, to have the ideas of Bernie Sanders, but could be trusted to always capitulate to the big donors when push came to shove. The problem is, she PO'd all the progressives by going after Bernie Sanders. So now they don't trust her, as I told them not to, by the way. You know? Now Mayor Pete's the establishment choice, him and Bloomberg, you know? I will have to say, if I would never vote for anyone that's in the field, but to me, the least insane of all of them in the field is probably Amy Klobuchar, a woman known for throwing her shoes at staffers. And she's the most sane left. At least she publicly denounced socialism. At least she called out Bernie and Elizabeth Warren and said that their pie-in-the-sky plans are nothing. They're not policies unless there's a chance of them getting passed. So, you know. But the real story tonight's Joe Biden. 0 delegates. I had friends that tell me that they're convinced it's going to be Joe. They know more than me about it. It's going to be Joe Biden. I said, no way. No way. I was wrong about it being Warren, but I knew it wouldn't be Biden. They can't drag that guy to the finish line. It's pathetic. Thank you, Liberty Smith. I really appreciate it. John Jacobs doing his best trolling effort here. I could prove all that wrong. I really could. But yeah, I mean, interesting tonight, the results. I saw the best comment I saw about all of this was again last night in Tucker Carlson. Mark Stein, who's great, said the joke is people are going into New Hampshire trying to get momentum for going into the Iowa caucuses, which the joke is they got to redo the Iowa caucus. It's kind of funny, I thought. But I got a weird sense of humor. All right. If I got someone who wants to call, Preacher, I didn't see who you said disagrees with me, but I'd love to have a little debate here. Let me bring up the voice number. Yeah, we could disagree about Syria. Maybe you'll change my mind. I don't know, but I'm pretty convinced that this was a huge mistake on Trump's part. So the number is... So at this point, Ford Nation in 223, if one of you want to call in that disagree about this, there's the number. By the way, if any of you mods are on here, if you could copy that number, then you could just put it down anytime. Oh yeah, I'm on Discord too. That's a good place to follow me. Dogface. Can you believe that, man? That Biden saying that to that poor lady. I mean, it's unbelievable. I've never seen someone who's so hostile to their own voters, to the people actually showing up. It's really incredible. Buttigieg and Hillary, maybe. I could see Hillary coming back. I have no idea. Oh, if you guys don't want to call and argue with me, that's fine too. Don't feel pressured into it just because I'm calling you out. No, don't feel pressured if you don't want to call. I know you guys are on a little bit of a lag behind me, so it might take a minute for someone to call in. But yeah, I'll just ramble on about the New Hampshire primary while we're doing this. I had read, I don't know if this is true, but I'd read several tweets that Trump with 50% reporting had already received more votes in the primary than Obama, than Bush, than the others that came before him, which is a good sign that enthusiasm, even people showing up in big numbers, knowing that there's no chance that Trump's going to lose that primary in New Hampshire, still showing up in big numbers is probably a good sign for enthusiasm. Now, again, don't get too excited. All these signs are pointing to Trump's doing really good. I hear people all the time on this channel and in real life tell me, Trump's got it locked up. He's going to win 48 states. Never give your opponents the same gift they gave you. This is how they felt leading into the 2016 election. It was one of the biggest upsets in history. So don't make the same mistake. Stay ever vigilant. Do what you can to help, not just Trump, right? And maybe you're on the left and you're not going to vote for Trump. That's fine. But do what you can to out this corruption. That's the important thing. It is a movement that's more important than just one person. It really is. Trump has my utmost respect for doing what I think is, the best job that I've ever seen at going on offense against this corruption. I'll still criticize. There's a lot that he could do better, I think. But I think that he's doing amazing. I'll put the number up one more time in case anyone missed it. We get John Jacobs to come on and tell us why we should all kiss transsexuals' feet in libraries and stuff like that. Mayor Pete and Hillary, first all gay ticket. Funny. But, yeah, join my Discord too, if you guys have it. Look, I know a lot of people... Sometimes I say things, please don't get the mistaking idea that I'm talking down to people. I'm not, particularly when it comes to tech. I'm so tech illiterate, it's ridiculous. So, when it comes to getting a new app or something, I'm like, I don't know. And that's how I was with Discord. I'm like, it sounds like a hassle. I don't want to get involved in something that's bugging me all the time. It's actually real simple. All it is just a chat room for just the people, in this room. You can talk to the people that, and it's not just me. I have my own. SJG has one. Drone Tech has one. You could even start your own. And it's nice. You could just, because I'm not live all the time. I know that upsets some people. You wish I was here 24/7. I do my best. By the way, can I, well, I'll say this in a second. Am I missing something? Are people trying to call in, or am I just missing it? No, it should. Nope, we're good. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, it's an easy thing. It doesn't give you a virus or something to download. Just go to that link there and it'll, if I'm still talking into an hour, probably not Ford Nation, but I'll take a rain check. I really will. If someone is calling in, just please tell me in the chat so I can take these ridiculous headphones off, which, by the way, I'm trying to get new headphones soon, but they're uncomfortable, make my ears sweat, but they sound good. So if you do call in now, I can't hear you, so put it in the chat and then I'll put them on. But yeah, no pressure. But I love having discussions about things like that. And it's hard. You're always at a disadvantage in the chat, right? Because I talk really fast. I'm going to talk faster than you can type. So it's nice to be able to have your voice and make your point that way. Yeah, but Discord. Check out Discord. I have a Skype number, but I never use it. Again, that's another thing. I'm like a crotchety old man like, Skype? I don't want to use Skype. Now, what I was going to say is, honestly, maybe I'm not the best content creator, though the quarter that I already flipped proves that I am. But maybe I'm not. But I think I'm pretty, I think I'm putting a lot of stuff out there. Yeah, I'm with you, Tigger Cares. I had the earbuds and I hated them. I watched myself and I'm like this the whole time, like picking at my ears. Not a good look. So, that's fine, 223, if you're terrible on the phone. I'll talk about Syria at length someday, and we could do. You don't have enough glitter or soy milk. How can you teach tolerance and acceptance to Nazi Republicans without glitter and soy milk? Well, it's all about capitulation, right? You don't need the glitter and soy milk. You just have to praise the glitter and soy milk. You can always say you couldn't afford the glitter and soy milk because the man has kept you down, the evil billionaire class, and they've outsourced all of your jobs, so you're entitled to money because you can't even afford glitter and soy milk. But unfortunately, Yang's out, so you can't get your free 1,000 a month. That's terrible. You only call 976 numbers. Is that like the old 900 numbers, the pay for... But, yeah, I think I'm putting out... I'm trying to increase my volume and quality of my content. So I am trying to get new hardware and software, but I'm also trying to shore up what I'm trying to do with my show. Reach out to people, bring on guests, things like that. I got a couple offers today from some people. So, yeah, I'll be trying that sort of stuff soon. I'm doing this panel Monday. But I'm also trying to increase my volume. I want to start getting back into doing more just 4 or 5 minute videos. So if you wouldn't mind, check out some of those videos that I do. I think you might like them. It seems I get more attention in my live streams. I think it's because I have such a good rapport. But no, I think some of the shorter videos I do, maybe people would like them. So I'm going to try to start doing stuff like that. But I really do. I mean, I do these live streams almost at 2 hours a clip. I do them, 4 or 5 times a week. Plus I'm doing other people's shows. Plus I'm putting out the regular videos. So I'm really trying, because I take it serious that I now have people that are not just donating money, but that are donating faith in me, that are out there pushing my name. I got great people like Preacher that's doing all kinds of stuff for me. The awesome flag that I have, not behind me now because I'm at my work office, but when I get home, the awesome flag that was donated by Preacher. A lot of my microphone equipment and stuff like that was donated by my friends Logan and Cherby. I have all sorts of people, Dib Sirvek, Milo Papadilla, that are patrons to me. Killer Kyle is a patron. Who's my fourth one? I feel really bad. Someone just signed up the other day. And I'd like to mention your name. But I had people like a Big Sky Crypto, of course, who destroyed me on the rap battle we did the other night. So I'm trying to, make sure that now that, I'm the type of person that it's easy to just sit around and be lazy when it's just me. But once I have people that are kind of helping me out, I feel like I owe it to my audience to try to be putting content out. So even if you don't like the content I'm putting out, at least I'm trying to put it out there. And I hope you guys do like it. High volume, low content. That's my motto, Clearly Clever. Russia did steal all of my monies. So we'll wrap her up here. Thank you. I do have good... One of the things I would ask you all, you can check my link for where to follow me on the description. Where to follow me on DLive, on YouTube, follow me on Twitter. Twitch, I haven't been using yet, but maybe someday. Places like that. You can also support me on PayPal or Patreon. I will be putting up videos showing you exactly the hardware I'm trying to buy. I'm trying to get this awesome camera. It's like $250. I mean, a microphone. Now that soon I should be able to mobile live stream. What it does is it'll plug into the bottom of my charger here. And then it comes with like all the software with it already, where it's just this awesome mic. And I'll be able to, like, when I'm going around to rallies interviewing people, it'll have an awesome sound quality. But it's $250. But my guy who knows this stuff assures me it's the one to get. So I'm going to put videos up to try to show you exactly where monetary donations are going with things like that. Just so you know. That doesn't mean you have to donate. Please don't feel that way. I'm going to be doing this content one way or the other. I promise you. It'll just help me increase my quality and things like that. But if you really want to help me, the most important thing for me, at least that I think, would be trying to grow my channel. So if you're watching someone else's video, if you could put a link out to me, if you think it's an audience that might be interested in what I'm having to say, if you're on Twitter or you're on Facebook and you think some of your friends might be interested, please, pick your favorite video of mine or your favorite channel and put it out there. And maybe we'll grow that way. And I'm committed not just to growing myself. If you have a channel out there, I can't guarantee that I'll like your content. I'm not going to lie to you and say I'll like your content or agree with all of it. But if you're honestly someone that I think's trying hard and you're in good faith, I wouldn't mind giving you a shout out on a video to ask people to check out your channel. And that's true if you're on the left or the right. I really mean that. That's true if you're doing non-political content, So I think one of the big things that I want to represent and want to show is the importance of independent content creators. Not the importance of creators that think like me or that agree like me, even those that disagree. I think that one of the greatest things we could do is to ensure that the gatekeeping and the monopoly on information that we see through places like the entertainment industry, the mainstream media, Silicon Valley, and academia, to take away that monopoly on information. Even if that means people putting information out that I disagree with, that's okay. I would rather it be coming from someone who's honest and an independent creator. I really do think that that's the next battle. The globalists versus the rest of us battle will be fought on independent content creators. That's where we're going to see the battle. They're going to try to censor us. We're going to try to fight back with the truth and with free speech. We'll bring on people that disagree with us. I'll bring anyone on from the mainstream media. I would. I'll talk to them. So it's important. Even if you're watching now, you're one of the 3 people that gave me a thumbs down. Perfectly fine. Maybe my content's not for you, but support some independent content creator. Start your own channels. Like, really, it's that important. It really is. And that's one of the things I have to tip my cap to American Joe and those guys. The idea that they had of, let's try to get content creators together. Let's try to get our audiences to know each other. Because I'm just like you. Yeah, John Jacobs, I'll let you know. We could do something in advance. But I'm just like you out there. It's tough. You're at the whims of the algorithm of YouTube or of wherever you're at. Right? So if they're burying people's content, it's hard to find it unless someone you trust says, hey, did you check out this channel? It's hard to find people. And there's a lot of good ones out there. There's probably a lot of great people that don't have many subscribers. I grinded away, I feel like I'm a success now. I got, almost 1,500 subscribers? That's a pittance compared to many people, but I grinded away for years just to get where I'm at now. As I always say, if I'm just talking to one person, if I had one viewer, that's enough for me. But I'm incredibly humbled that I have people support me like you all. I really am. And it's important, if you don't want to support me, support some other content creator. Start your own content. It really is that important to me. It's something that we could do that's not too invasive into your life, hopefully, but it can actually make a difference. I really think it can. So, thank you. Yeah. Also, keep in mind, people like the Rob rants. I'm hoping. I miss the chat a lot when I'm doing the Rob rants, but and here's another thing I'll say. When I ran for Congress, again, this is kind of bragging myself up, but I'm doing this content while I'm also working 80 plus hours a week. I try to have a family life too, which I do. I have a great life. I'm lucky to have the people around me, especially my wife. Don't tell her I said that though. And by the way, she's in bed. I know she's not watching right now, so no problem. I can say nice things about her when she's not listening. But check out Preacher's channel. I was talking to Preacher last night off the air, and he's got a channel where he does like biking and things like that. I haven't checked it out other than one video that he sent me yet, but I think it's something that really... because it's a 724. Oh, yeah, it is. I guess I do have a 724 number. Yeah, Richard, I agree with you, right? There's this guy, Robert Epstein. He testified in front of Congress that Google has the potential to swing 15 to 22 million votes in the next election. That's just Google. And where are most Republicans on this? They're totally clueless when it comes to social media. I asked the Republicans around here, what can I do? I'll do anything I can to help the Republicans win Pennsylvania, to help Trump win Pennsylvania in 2020. They tell me to hand out yard signs. I mean, that type of stuff, that type of grassroots stuff is still important, don't get me wrong. But I don't know that that's where my skills are best suited. And if we're still stuck in the yard sign era or the writing to your newspaper era, when the opposition's dominating social media, that's not a good chance for success. But what I was going to say is, I ran for Congress. I don't have a team. I got my friend Tom, who's a Democrat, who's my campaign manager. I got my wife. That's it. Us three. What we put out, what we produced, was unbelievable. We were producing itineraries day by day. Here's where we'll go today. Here's what the topic will be. Here's us offering to debate the Democratic opposition. Here's us contacting this media source at this time. We had that stuff out for a month of how we would run our campaign. We did every issue. I called hundreds of people because it was a special election. You had to, there were conferees that were voting. It wasn't a primary. So there were 200 something people that were the ones that got to vote. I tried to call every single one of them. I didn't get in touch with all of them, but I talked to hundreds of people on the phone. Sometimes 45, 50 minutes at a time. One person. I spent thousands of dollars that I didn't have through a series of comedy of errors of not getting paid for a house that I sold and yada, 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 a bunch of stuff that's irrelevant. But, I'm not a wealthy person, but I spent this money. I had to buy reasonable clothes. It turns out you can't go run for Congress in your office t-shirt. But I did all this. And what shocked me was, me and my wife and my campaign manager, we all have full-time jobs. I was working like 80 hours a week while I'm doing this. And I felt like we had a better grasp on everything than these career politicians. Some of them were great. Some of the career politicians were. But I couldn't believe how crisp we were. Like every issue, we'd put a video out. You can go back, check out my videos from when I was running for office. It'll be like, healthcare. Here's my 5-minute speech on healthcare. A big issue in our district that I was running for was access to high-speed internet, which is very important in that area because most of the area doesn't have it. So, I hear you, preacher. Yeah, second screen would be like, yeah, I'm going to bed soon too, DM Demond. Thank you, man. Or lady, I think. But I'm not saying send me money, send me this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if I could put out all this content while I'm working 80 hours a week, if I could voice a defense against the corruption while having a full-time job and a life, where are your politicians? Where are they? This is what they get paid to do, to represent you. And maybe I'm not the voice that represents you the most. Maybe it's American Joe. Maybe it's my friend SJG or Jerome Tech. Maybe it's someone, that I haven't mentioned. Maybe it's someone on the left. But these small independent content creators, why does it seem like oftentimes we have more energy and passion than the people that are paid, that have been voted to represent us? That's what's frustrating to me. If I was full-time, if I had won that election and it was my full-time job and I had access to things that the government congressional staffers get access to, imagine the full-throated defense I could make of the corruption that we see. But I'm not. Instead, I spend half my life at work. I have a family life. I don't have access to anything. I'm broke. And I'm still doing better than most of the elected officials. Not to brag about myself. And not just me, but hundreds of other independent content creators that aren't getting rich doing it. So, I mean, it just makes you wonder. Yeah, I'm trying, Richard, and I'm reaching out there. I tried to reach out to The Blaze. My friend Preacher talked to someone from The Blaze, but I tried to contact them and see, there's some local radio stations around here I've offered to do interviews. It's hard because I don't have connections. But it's one of those things, I don't have connections, and it's like, oh, poor Rob doesn't have connections. The people I am connected to, they might not, it's like the Garth Brooks song. I got friends in low places, and they're the best friends. They're the greatest people in the world. I wouldn't change it for anything. But it's hard coming from humble beginnings to get yourself out there. So I'm trying. And I'm not just trying for me, I'm trying for everyone that I think's, that's kind of why I got the name of the show, Nomral America. Plus my last name's Nor. But then I'm trying to actually be a voice for regular people that I watch and I think are the backbone of this country that are getting screwed over. So, all right, 1 a.m. I do, preacher, I do have $1. I have several dollars. And if I don't take those dollars to the flower shop tomorrow to get something for my wife, then I'll probably have $0 as it's taken from me. So, thank you everyone for being here. Those of you that I made mods, remember the Patriot Super Panel next Monday. I'll need all the help I can with mods and things like that. So that'll be at 9 o'clock on Monday evening, 9 p.m. So check that out if you're new here. Please like and subscribe. Check the descriptions for all of my things. Or an advertiser or politicians. I have a speech comm degree, so I could get into advertising. But I also have a soul, so I don't want to. No, I'm just kidding. Advertising's fine. But yeah, I'm trying, and thank you all so much for all your support. I really appreciate it. If you want to continue this conversation on the chat, I'll leave the video run for 3-4 minutes, but then go to that Discord channel, and you can chat all you want there. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm humbled to be here, as always. Thank you for listening to me, and have a good one.